Hey, welcome to Happy Tales of Happy Tales, the podcast where you'll hear stories of the way pups have touched our hearts and our lives. So for the next few minutes, let everything else go and just listen and smile. I'm your host, Julie Jackson. This week, I'm excited to share a conversation with you with my friend Andi. Whenever you talk to Andi, there are two things that you know are going to happen. It's going to be fun, and she's going to bring some cool perspective to the conversation. And she did not disappoint. One of the things that I love that you will hear in this conversation is the way that her mother instilled in them just a love and a great respect for pups, and the terminology that they use when they refer to their pups. It's so great. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I know you will too. So sit back, listen, and smile. Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. I'm excited for you. This is cool. I'm excited. I think it's a great idea for a podcast.
Well, thank you. It's not like there's stories of I was in an accident and my dog moved my car off of me, or,
right.
it's just everyday stuff, but it's been really sweet. Probably in more of them than not, I've ended up crying. They're not necessarily sad stories, but they're just
right. You feel the love.
Yeah. Yeah. And, just what an impact they have.
I wrote a few things down so I would not be too scattered in my hopes. I don't know if anybody's talked about terminology in their own home, but we have specific dog terminology that I grew up with.
I love this.
The first one, my mother was very clear with all of us that we should never use the word dog. She said, dog is just kind of a rude term. You want to call everybody a pup or a puppy. You never want them. I guess in her mind, she didn't want them to grow up or something. I don't know. So whenever anybody says, how many dogs do you have? I always respond with, well, like right now, I have 2 pups. And one of them is 15. One of them is 6.
But dog could be insulting.
I don't know why, but my mother ingrained that in me. And I think it's hilarious now because people look at you funny when you say how many, oh, they're puppies? No, they're not puppies. It's like totally confusing. Another thing is my mother is a crazy woman, but one of the terms she would say is the puppy runs. And, that's when your puppy or your dog, see, I can't even say it now, is so happy or excited that they do the fast runs.
Zoomies. At our house.
You call them zoomies. We called them puppy runs because, again, you can't say dog. We have a term for Allie, who is one of the ones I have now, and we say she has suffocating love. And the reason we use that term with her is because she's about 6 or 7, and she's a terrier mix mutt, and it was a tragic, she was found under a bridge with other puppies, only one that survived, one of those kind of. So I've always felt as if she has some PTSD. But when she's really excited or upset, she will jump up and she will put her face over your mouth, like not her face, but like her neck or her cheek. And it's so she can feel your breath.
Oh.
And I can feel her. I can actually feel her start to relax as I breathe on her. Oh. It's incredibly sweet. And so we call that suffocating love.
That is so sweet, though. You're right. It is incredibly sweet.
And the other one, I don't even know if I should try to explain it, but for some reason, my mother used to also say, tincture of bunny thighs. Okay, now.
You have to explain it now. You have to.
I think she said that because she liked the word tincture, and you never get to use it. You probably do more than the
Well,
rest.
right.
Yeah.
Not even that much anymore, but yeah, you're right. Probably more than the average bear. Yeah.
And so I think she liked the term tincture. And then she was always wanting to compliment pups, as we say, pups that we have or love or know. And I think for some reason, she just thought bunnies were really cute too. And she would, whenever she would see, she'd go, look at that pup over there. That pup has a beautiful tincture of bunny thigh. And we would all go, yes, yes. And so my daughter called me, even Lydia called last week and said that her cat had tincture of bunny thigh. And I was like, I'm so happy, honey. But I don't know. And
That's living on. So it's just like a
it's a compliment.
if they're beautiful, like beautiful or something pleasing
But
is tincture of bunny thigh.
yeah, but usually we're patting them on the thigh area, the haunch
Yes.
kind of area. And we're saying, look at that tincture of bunny thigh. Or another one that we would use is with Tucker, who I know you probably remember.
Yes.
Tucker is 15, and he's a Chug, a Chihuahua Pug mix that I found on Granbury Highway, running towards our car.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And I picked him up, and he was kind of like, well, there you are. I've been waiting,
I've been looking for you.
Yes. But in a lot of times when the kids would come in and climb in bed with me in the morning, and the dogs, of course, are in there as well, we would all say, I think that Tucker got some extra velvet last night because his fur would be so soft that it felt softer than at other times. But when you first wake up and there's that warm, snuggly kind of puppy feeling. And so another term that our family uses that I thought was interesting,
I love that.
he got extra velvet.
He
Yeah.
got extra velvet.
And again, Lydia will call me and say, oh my gosh, Sadie got extra velvet last night. Oh my goodness, um,
And that's the best way to start a day.
isn't it? Oh,
Yes.
it is. Well, and then those were the terms I thought of. And then I was trying to think, there's stories about every single pup you ever have.
Yes.
Our very first one as a family, I'm sure this is when I knew you. We got Molly Ming Ming.
Oh, yes, I remember Molly because she used to come in and visit in the store.
She did, along with Tucker.
Yes.
Tucker would come
Yes.
sometimes too. But Molly, what happened was, it's an interesting story, I think. I'm sure people remember the crocodile hunter.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Steve Irwin, and my daughter at the time was early grade school, I think. And when Steve Irwin died, and I will never forget it because it was a Sunday morning, and she had pictures all over her room of him with animals. And her plan, when people would ask her what she was going to do in her future, was to grow up and work with Steve Irwin.
Oh.
So I woke up the Sunday morning with the news that Steve Irwin had died. And even now, I feel like I could get teary-eyed about it.
Yes.
Because he was like somebody that we knew,
Right.
And so we had to tell Lydia, and it was the first big loss in her life, I think. It was Steve Irwin. And so later that day, we were going outside, and there was a cat in the driveway, a black cat. And Lydia, of course, assumed that Steve Irwin had sent her this black cat from heaven to let her know that he was okay. And we have to save this cat, whose name is now Jade, I believe
Yes. Sure.
Some very young girl name,
Yes, as you would.
And that we have to keep the cat. Well, the problem here is that I knew growing up that I was not that allergic to dogs. As my mother said, it would be a shame to have to give you away. if you were highly allergic to dogs, but we would
Because you're
find
such
you
a
a good
great
home.
kid. This is going to
Yeah.
be such a loss.
But unfortunately, a cat in my house really would do me in. I'm so
Mm.
allergic to cats, and I
Oh,
like them fine, but and so I told Lydia, I said, we can keep Jade, but Jade has to be an outdoor cat, and I have to take Jade in because I'm a responsible pet owner to the vet and have them check him over. And then if they think he's okay and we'll get his vaccines, get him fixed, all that, then he can stay. So, of course, I take the cat to the vet. And when uh, cats usually have either the two biggies are leukemia or AIDS.
yes.
And
Feline
he had
HIV.
he had one or the other, like
Oh,
pretty bad. And the vet told me it would be irresponsible for me to put him back out on the street. I mean, it must have been AIDS because it's so contagious amongst
yes.
animals. So I had to have Jade put to sleep. So now
Oh.
in 2 days, Steve Irwin died, and then the cat he sent from heaven died. And I thought, I can't do this. I have a 10-year-old daughter who is now not going to believe in God.
Right. This
Or,
has now become a test of her faith.
right. So I said to the kids, and I talked to Steve, and I said, we're going to the pound. It was time. I had been avoiding it because I knew how much work it was going to be. And, we had done rodents and tortoises and other animals up until
Yes.
that point. Um, so we went into the pound, and this mom had just delivered a litter of puppies, and Molly was one of them. So I thank goodness Paul was too young to be much of a decision maker. So I let Lydia be the entire decision maker in this. And so she started petting these puppies, and one of them kept licking her. And then this boy came over and he tried to scoot in and pet that puppy. Can you believe this?
Oh, no.
And the puppy that was licking Lydia bit him. And she went, "Oh my God, it's our puppy, Mom. Mom." And so we decided at that moment that that was our puppy. And Molly Ming Ming was a black lab border collie mix, we think.
Yes. She was
And
so pretty.
oh, beautiful, beautiful coat. Just a wonderful, I was going to say a wonderful human being. But
Actually, she was probably better than even wonderful human beings.
right, very, very much so. But
Yes.
she was just delightful. I mean, our Christmas pictures always had Molly in them. Um, Now, the reason we named her Molly Ming Ming is Molly, I don't know how that we got that, but Ming Ming was from a cartoon the kids used to watch called Super Pets or something like that.
Wonder Pets.
Wonder Pets.
Wonder
And if
Pets.
you'll remember, it was a cartoon about animals in a classroom. And if you remember, there was a duck named Ming Ming, and then was I don't know, some other animal named Tuck, and then Lenny. Well, we never got Lenny,
But
but
that's
but we
oh,
did have Ming Ming and Tucker. So
and
that's why we have two out of the three. Um, Her first week home, she ate a pincushion with all of the pins in
oh
it.
my gosh.
It was like our $50 pup, because he can't say dog either, pup is now costing $500 in the first week we got her because it took forever for them to go down. I kept saying, just use a magnet, but they didn't listen to
Well,
me. They
plus I'm
went down.
sitting here thinking first Steve Irwin, now Jade, now we've got Molly Ming Ming.
Molly Ming Ming will not die on my watch. I knew
Right.
that.
Right.
No matter how much we spent.
I don't
So
care how much this cost. We're saving Molly Ming Ming.
we must. So it did. It cost about $500 to get all the pins out. She was definitely very protective of the kids and Steve and I. she didn't know how she felt when I brought Tucker home. She kind of hated him at first few days. Um, but that's when I learned, because I grew up with single pups. Excuse me, Mom. Single pups,
Andi,
and
we will not say the D word. This is a family friendly podcast. We will not say the D word.
I appreciate it because it's rather insulting. I never ever.
Yes.
My brother doesn't either. No. So anyway, when Tucker came home, um, that's when I realized how important a pack it is. We'd always had single pups growing up, and we were part of their pack, I think, but there was something missing for them. And I hadn't really known that until Tuck came around. I ended up also inheriting my mom's pup. Um, okay, I have a few more stories. Molly Ming Ming came over to babysit my kids one day. Or my mother came over to babysit my kids one day, and Molly Ming Ming was, of course, here with her and loved my mother dearly, of course, and
Right.
ran up to greet her and jumped up and just jumped a little hard, knocked my mother over, which, as my mother said, well, of course, if it's a pup, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. They can do what they want.
But it really hurt. Her ribs were sore for a few days. And so she ended up going in and getting an x-ray. And that's how they discovered her lung cancer.
Wow.
And they discovered it early enough. So she had a good, with treatment and surgery and all that, she probably had 4 years from that
Wow.
point, which was still fairly rare 12 years ago, to have that much time. She would always say that she needed to take Molly out to a steakhouse
Oh, if she could.
if she could. But I've always liked that story too.
Well, and that was just, that was no accident.
So I ended up inheriting her pup, who was Bunny. So we had Molly, Ming Ming, Tucker, and Bunny. Bunny was like a white fluff ball.
Oh.
And so I had her up until about the two of them 6 or 7 years ago. Unfortunately, both Molly and Bunny died a week apart.
Oh, so
I thought
sorry.
I was going to die. Right, Tucker, you too. But
Yeah.
so that's when we had to start looking for another pup to add, and that's when Allie, short for alligator, came
Oh.
into the picture.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. There is something, excuse me, about them having a companion.
Uh-huh.
That's a furry companion. It's the dynamic is always it's always different, but it's always
Always.
so sweet.
It is. And I saw in your text to me, you said that you were going to ask me what I've learned.
Yes. Yes.
And I am assuming that the majority of people are going to say unconditional love. So I said to myself, don't say unconditional love. You have to come up with something else. And you're challenging, Andi. So
I love it.
I came up with that I too am a pack animal. And I love being part of a dog pack as well as a people pack. There's something about it that to have other creatures that are just comfortable flopping on top of you or coming up your body so you can suffocate on their face, or
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just such an endearing quality to me that I know that's how I live my life, wanting to be in different packs. So that's
Yes.
what I've learned.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And you know what? I have to tell you, it was not as much a hard and fast rule. It kind of developed. But after I was in college when and it's funny, I was thinking it's kind of full circle. The first pup that I ever rescued from the shelter on my own was Allie.
Uh,
So I had and she was precious. I had a precious Allie, but anyway, it's funny because as my parents then, always referred to their grand dogs, and
Uh-huh.
we didn't specifically say we're not going to use the word, but it turned into the little furry people. And then my dad would just refer to him as the LFPs,
The LFP. So
the
on
little
some
furry people.
level, your family also knew that dog is not it's not the best word.
Right. It's not, it didn't do them justice.
You're
So,
right.
so it would either be the dad, especially it would be the little furry people, the LFPs, or sometimes just for short, he'd be like the furries. How are the furries?
You can't say
So
that anymore. That
yeah.
now is not the thing to say. It's a
Yeah.
disrespectful
Yeah.
thing.
So,
But
yeah. So anyway, it was
cool.
funny because we kind of, it wasn't specified, but we kind of had that same evolution in our house of, in our family, that we're not going to call them dogs because it just doesn't seem to elevate them to where they need to
Right,
be.
right. You know, but for some reason, pup does, or puppy, or LFPs,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Yes. Although I do love, and several people of course make the reference, and I certainly not going to disagree with it. Well, but dog spelled backwards. And I'm like,
I know.
yes, that,
I was
and
going
that.
to, but it always makes me kind of want to gag a little. I don't know why. Uh, People say that. Not that I don't think that God's all about dogs and dogs are all about God. I do. I think they are, but I think it's more complicated than we realize, you know?
Oh yeah.
I,
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. I think that's
and I
really,
feel really sorry for people who don't know this kind of love. It's kind of like having children. I feel sorry for people who haven't, because it's a different sort of love, you know? And I feel that way about animals.
it really is. And it's so, of course, like you said, unconditional, but that's true, but it's so pure.
Very,
It's just such
very.
a pure, and it cracks me up though, because I mean, mine all have different levels of sass, you
Oh, yeah.
know, and I have some that it doesn't matter what I do, they'll look at me with this huge, ridiculous, derpy smile on their face every single time. And then I have others that will shoot me that look,
Like,
like, what? I mean,
I know my husband always says that Tucker looks like an old Frenchman wearing a beret who's smoking a cigar. And I don't know. And he says he just always feels like he's that character kind of person,
yes.
you know?
Yes. Like they are unique. They're so individual. But even when sometimes, some of them maybe will get a little out of sorts with you more than others,
But
they always forgive, and they know they don't ever love you any less. They just might
no,
let
they
you
don't.
know, that,
I'm,
okay, that was uncalled for.
I'm setting you down for a moment since they want their treats and I can't, they can't be delayed. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, I've had that discussion numerous times that I have never, in spite of all my years being rescued by dogs, have never become a good dog trainer. But I found out that pretty much all of the dogs I've rescued are excellent people trainers.
Oh, without a doubt. Without it.
Because
Yeah. I remember getting a rotisserie chicken just once, and I put it on the counter, but obviously I didn't know my way very well because I put it too close to the edge.
Mhm.
And so we found Molly came in wagging her tail, and we found just the plastic container. So in that little lesson, I said, what did we learn? To push the chicken further back. You know,
Yes.
blamed for that. It was
Yes.
opportunity she needed to take, you know.
Right. That was just smart. That was just smart on her part.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think they all train us to do whatever it is. I sometimes feel like, okay, now do you want me to hold your bowl while you drink out of it? Or,
Yes.
you know, but
Yeah, we kind of laugh because we recently got an elevated dog bowl for water, and we
oh,
just use both the bowls. We just fill with
yeah,
water. And then we still have their big water bowl. Like they all still have it. But for whatever reason now, they've all decided that the elevated water bowl is the one. And
Yes.
that they'll get just almost a little bit obnoxious about like, excuse me, garçon, I need you to come refill this.
This is not working out.
Right.
Have you ever
Like,
had one that will carry the water bowl to you? I had one that used to carry it to me and go, look, But,
I love that. With the food bowls, yes. So
yes.
I have told this story, but I'll tell it again because it cracks me up. And I might have to send you a link real quick. So if so, just bear with me.
Okay.
But we got these rocks they look like lava rocks or something. And the premise is that they're supposed to, you put them in their water and it's supposed to change the pH of their urine just enough that it prevents those yellow patches in your grass.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what, of course.
Yes. And, but marketing ploy, maybe, I'm not sure. The deal is you're supposed to change those rocks out maybe every 3 months. I think they said. I think, we're going on like 6 years now. I mean, it didn't happen.
Sort of like an ice filter, huh?
Yes, that's exactly what it's like. And yes. So, but their water bowls are metal and the rocks are still in there because those stinkers figured out very quickly that if they bang the rocks around inside the bowl, we can hear it anywhere in the house. So when the water bowl is empty or low, it does not matter where we are in the house. Someone will start banging the rocks around. And the older dogs have taught the younger dogs to do it. So they all do it now.
Kind of like an emergency response system,
It is.
if you will.
Right? It's like they're pulling the fire alarm.
They are. Come now, you people.
We need water now.
Well, I must admit, I do have a tendency now to fill up a mug of water and set it in the living room. So that way they can sneak over and drink. And then I can go, oh, no.
Look what you did. That's so great. It's like a game. It's so fun. Oh, I love it. Oh, well, Andi, this has just been the best. Thank you so much.
This is so really fun. I can't wait to hear, see, watch, whatever.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that you are busy, and I really appreciate that you chose to spend some of your time with me. So let's do a little bit of bookkeeping before we head out. If you enjoy this and you would like to receive the episodes automatically without having to seek them out, then in your podcatcher, follow or subscribe. And that way, every time an episode drops, it'll show up for you and you'll know that it's there. Makes it super easy. You don't have to think about it. Please go visit the website. It's really cute. It's got puppy pictures. Also, I've got a free gift for you over there if you will go check it out. And if you would like to message me, if you have any suggestions, specific pup stories you want to hear, or even better, if you want to share a story, you can message me right there from the website. That's the best way to get to me for that. Check us out on all the different socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of them. That's where you'll see pictures of the pups that we talk about each week. Also just other fun pup things. I'm going to put episodes on YouTube as well. Sometimes the episodes are recorded via Zoom, and so there's video. A lot of times it's just us talking, but every now and then there are some fun cameos from puppies or there's shenanigans in the background, and you can catch all that on YouTube. If you want to help me out, if you would leave a positive review and share the podcast, that would be fantastic. I would be really grateful. And once again, if you want to help me out, I would love to share your story. So please hit me up and let's schedule a time that we can talk. Some people have shared their stories in writing. Some people have gotten on the phone and done a chat with me. So we can do whatever you are most comfortable with. Finally, do not forget that you are as great as your dog thinks you are, and go smooch your pooch. Thanks, y'all.